I'm John Oetjens, and welcome to one of our year-end editions of Schooling Around. As the schools prepare for their holiday programs and everyone is getting in gear for their Christmas break, we're going to step back and take a look at some of the ground we've covered during the past year. The man who has been at the helm of our school district, Dr. William Skilling, recently announced that he'll retire at the end of August 2015. We spent some time talking with him about his decision. More on that after this. Being a school superintendent is not an easy job. There are a lot of balls to juggle, not the least of which lately has been the issue of the International Residence Academy. Things like that, combined with talk of a recent health issue, raised a lot of possibilities for making his decision.
It had a lot to do with my family. Every time I would attend a family event or go away, I was always working. And I would be pulled from the event, phone calls, text messages, emails. And most recent one came in October. I went to visit with my family. My grandson was having his second birthday. My daughter, we were celebrating her 25th birthday. And I just wasn't engaged in the family celebration. And so my family has been talking to me probably for about 2 years about wanting to retire. And I've always had as a goal to teach at the university level once I retire. I've been teaching for at least 18 years at both Oakland University and Grand Valley State University part-time, and it's something that I would enjoy doing. I feel like I'm at a point where, with all the changes that we've gone through and the stress of going through all of that, coming through the worst economy in my lifetime and working towards keeping the district financially solvent, which we did, being able to expand opportunities for kids. Unless you're a superintendent, you don't understand the toll that it takes on you. And so I'm ready to get out of that pressure cooker and now talk about it to future leaders and share my experiences and so forth. And so I'm really looking forward to that and spending more time with my family, and the grandkids keep growing. I have 5 right now, and I have 6 kids, so I'm anticipating a lot more grandkids to come.
Sounds like you'll have no trouble finding something to do.
No, I'm not worried about that.
Tell me, I know you had a health issue recently, and it's up to you how much you want to say about that, but obviously that had some role to play in your decision, right? It
did, but the interesting thing is, as I shared with the administration team this morning when I told them I was retiring, when I had the family event to celebrate my grandson's birthday and my daughter's 25th birthday, it was that weekend, in talking with my children and my wife, that I said I'm going to retire. 3 days later, I get the prognosis that I have prostate cancer. And once I got that, my wife just looked at me and says, "You are retiring." And I did too. I came to the same thing. I said, you know what? I have to retire. I have to get out of the stress of this job. As much as I enjoy it, I really enjoy being a superintendent. And so I notified the board back in October that I was going to retire. And I said, however, I'm going to wait to announce it in December. Once I get out of surgery and recover and everything, I'll announce it in December. And so that's why I waited until just yesterday to announce it.
Are you thinking of staying around Michigan, or?
No, we bought a retirement home in Georgia, northern Georgia. And the reason we did that is because We have family there. My brother and sister-in-law, my nephews and nieces live there. My daughter lives there and teaches in Georgia. My two oldest sons want to retire out of the military and live in the South, and both of them are looking to live in Georgia. In fact, one's changing his residency during Christmas break to Georgia. The other one is already looking for land to buy in which to build on in the future. My youngest son, who will graduate this year, is going to Truett McConnell College in Georgia, which is 17 miles from our home. It's a Bible college. He's going to pursue youth ministries. So he wants to live there. And then my other daughter is moving to Nashville. She's a country western singer. And that's about a 4-hour drive from where we're looking to live.
What's that daughter's name? Maybe we should look for her on iTunes.
Mallory, yeah. As a matter of fact, I can do some self-promotion here. She is on iTunes, and this is her CD cover. Okay.
Let me get a close-up of that.
And as a matter of fact, she's an Oxford High School graduate, and she won the Oxford Idol contest, when she was a sophomore. And she played the lead in Annie. She was Annie in the musical Annie, and then 2 years later she played Annie again, but Annie, Get Your Gun. So.
Yeah. Now you have a couple of kids in the military right now, don't you?
Yes, I have two. Matter of fact, my one son is over in Afghanistan right now in Bagram. He's an offensive space program, and he works with special forces over there. So, and then I have another son who's also been to Afghanistan, and he's a Black Hawk pilot and with 101st Airborne. And then I have a third son who's in college in the Army ROTC program. He's a sophomore, so when he graduates, he'll be an officer as well, United States Army.
We'll talk about Skilling's future plans in a moment. We asked Dr. Skilling about what he'd like to do next.
Right. Well, actually, yes. I have met with representatives from North Georgia University 3 times now, and I'm supposed to meet with them again in February. They don't actually have an opening or position, but because of my experience and what they are looking to create, they're interested in me pursuing that. Originally I was talking to them about teaching, but now they're talking to me more about administration. What the situation is they want to expand their international programs, and they want to bring more international students to the university, and their focus is China. And their ROTC program there, they graduate more Army officers than any other ROTC program in the United States. They're second only to West Point. And so they focused on Mandarin Chinese, and so it just happened to work out. I met with them and was talking about teaching, and they saw my background and then wanted me to meet with somebody who's working in the international programs, which I did, and so they want to talk further. So I don't know where that's going to lead. It's a possibility, but it would be of great interest to me because its proximity to my home is 5 miles.
Wow. Next, we talked about some of the highs and lows of the last few years. If you had to pick something, let's see, you've been superintendent here in Oxford for how many years now?
7.5 years.
Okay. If you had to pick one thing out that you're most proud of, what would it be?
Wow, that's a tough one. Instead of identifying a single program or opportunity, I would say the thing that I'm most proud of that we accomplished together, the board and administration team and so forth, is that during this past recession, we were the only school district that did not take programs away from kids. In fact, we expanded program opportunities. And secondly, our staff was protected. We didn't lay off any teachers. And our teachers never took salary cuts. And I'm very proud of that, that we were able to work together to accomplish that. And it really took the effort of the teachers and administration and the board support to make that happen. Now, even though I just said that, the one thing that moves me most emotionally is getting rid of pay to play. At the time we got rid of that, it was a very difficult period for a lot of families, given the recession and the layoffs and so forth, and we had these economic barriers keeping kids from participating and families being stretched financially to help their kids participate in athletics. And by removing that barrier, we saw tremendous growth in participation in our athletic programs.
And I know you're going to be on the job till the end of August, as I understand it. But
yes.
On the other side of the coin, is there anything you wished you could have done that didn't come to fruition?
Well, that's a good question. Everything we identified in our strategic plan, everything we identified in our Project Reimagine, which was the innovation grant, we're one of 14 lighthouse school districts in the state of Michigan of innovation, and we've been singled out as the #1. We've accomplished everything. And so from that sense, I'm not leaving with regret that we didn't accomplish what we set out to accomplish. I guess if there's anything that I want to make sure that we have in place before I leave, is that our new strategic plan is in place, so the district continues to have a focus and a direction, and that we build up even more financial sustainability for what we put in place for our students. And so I would say that hasn't been completely accomplished yet, but we're on the pathway to making that happen. And we have a very, very strong administration team here, and I'm confident that they will carry that through.
Before we concluded our interview, I had to ask Dr. Skilling what he hoped for our district in the future.
I would say that the #1 indicator of whether a leader's been successful or not is not measured by what occurs when they're on the job, but it's measured by what happens after they retire. And so what I hope to see is that this district continues to prosper in being able to sustain the opportunities that we create for students, and that they will continue to innovate, because what is cutting edge today will not be cutting edge 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And so that there will be a continuous improvement in not only the student achievement levels, but in terms of teaching the right things. I think the most challenging part of education today is not how to teach and teach well, as where most people put their focus. It's knowing what to teach. And I think this gets missed. And this is another example of why I'm very concerned about Common Core, which I'm not going to go into. But it's knowing what to teach. And so the things that Oxford's doing now is cutting edge and leading. We've been identified by the state superintendent and even the governor's office, because I was asked to speak at his educational summit last year, as being a district of innovation and a district that is leading the way in terms of preparing our kids to work and live in a global market. And that's what they asked me to speak about, innovation in our international programs. So with the turmoil, I don't say, well, not turmoil, with the pushback that we've received at times within our community about some of the programs that we've chosen to put in place, and having a focus in preparing our kids for a global market will be commonplace 5 years from now. And we have so many districts in this state as well as out of state that are trying to emulate what Oxford's done. We've been a pioneer. We've done things that no one else has done. We have created opportunities that can only be found in Oxford, literally only found here, but will be commonplace in other districts in the future.
Dr. William Skilling, who retires as of the end of next August. Next, we go from stepping down to moving up. Back after the break.
Hello, I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny. Together we want to invite you to our weekly show, Minutes by Minute.
Minutes by Minute is a show where we talk about what's going on with your local Oxford-Addison commissions and councils and other local political groups, passing out legislation and ordinances that affect you. We believe that there is humor in politics and government, and you just have to look for it.
And usually we find it. For example, did you know that a local village has an ordinance that says if you have an acre of land, you're allowed up to 25 chickens, but no rooster?
That could be bad news for the chickens and bad news for the rooster.
Check out our weekly Minutes by Minutes, Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. and 10:30 p.m.
There is a warning, Minutes by Minute could be contagious.
In September, we learned that Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Dr. Jim Schwarz, had accepted a job as Superintendent of the Avon School District. Immediately, speculation started as to who would move into his slot. As it turned out, the job was filled from within our own ranks. Ken Weaver had been principal of Oxford Middle School for several years and had confided to our superintendent that he wanted to take the next step. So it was announced that he was to be in charge of curriculum and instruction. I sat down with Ken and asked him what his biggest change would be in the new job.
The biggest change is that I won't have the daily contact with the students. That is going to be something that's going to take some time to get used to. One thing working here, I had 1,130 other some students here, and if I was feeling like down on something or frustrated about something, all I had to do was go find some students, interact with them, watch them interact, and everything changed, and I remembered why I'd gotten into this profession. Now I'm going to be located over at Central Office. I'm going to be a level removed basically from the students, so that part's not going to be, I'm always going to be working for the benefit of the students and trying to do the best that I can and ensure that they have the best education, but I'm just not going to have that daily supervision and responsibility and stuff. Plus now I'm going to be over, the other big change is going to be that I'm over all of the programs. I'm over all of education K-12. Before I was just over the middle school section of it basically and responsible for the implementing that section of the curriculum
You're really the head curriculum guy right now, aren't you?
Yes, I will be overseeing all of it. Pre-K to 12th grade and beyond in a sense. We have so many different educational opportunities. It is an immense job. I always appreciated Dr. Schwarz and all that he did and just think the world of him. But I never fully understood everything until I've tried to start walking in his shoes. And since doing that, it's been a bit overwhelming.
It seems to me it might be kind of like a funnel, where on the one hand you've got to look at what the laws are and changes in the laws each year, make sure your district is conforming. And on the other hand, look at some of the visions of your superintendent and try and mesh all that stuff together.
Yeah, it really is, because you got to make sure, first and foremost, that you're always in compliance, that you're following regulations, state laws, grant regulations, and everything else, which is, one of the roles that I have, as well as blending that with not only the vision of the superintendent, but of the school board, the staff, the community, and blending all of those things together to come up with a direction for the education and implement it. It's a big task.
Ken is from the small town of Hale, Michigan, just outside of Taos, near Lake Huron. We talked about his roots and his ambitions.
That's a tough question. There is so many pressures in the politics and the budgets and all of that stuff. I don't know. Right now I'm just happy being, formerly the middle school principal and now the curriculum director.
It's a long way from Hale, Michigan to Oxford.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I don't think if you were to go back and ask any of my teachers, well, in fact, I know that if you were to go back and ask them, that they would have ever seen me ending up in this position. I don't know that anybody would have seen that, but it just shows that an education of a child is a long journey, and it's one that never ends. And along the way, I had a lot of growing and developing to do myself, so I can relate.
At what point did it hit you across the head, I want to be a teacher?
Well, it was after a few years of college. I had gone back and helped with some coaching and stuff like that, and I realized just in summer jobs that I had, nothing in particular, but that I realized that I really, really just liked working with kids, that I just loved it, and that I had a knack of being able to not only work with people, but also to teach them something, to impart something on them. Because first and foremost, now I've spent more years out of the classroom now in my career than I did in it. But at the same time, I'm always a teacher, and never will leave that, no matter what role I'm in. I just sometimes teach different audiences than I first started out with. Obviously, when I first started, I was a high school teacher, teaching either English or history. Now, not only am I still teaching kids, but I'm teaching them different things: discipline, how to act, how to behave, how to control their emotions, how to learn. And I'm also working in teaching teachers and building principals now as well too, and trying to help them in any way, shape, or form I can.
Ken Weaver, our new Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. Back in a moment. Daisha Beasley has spent the last few years as an assistant principal in our high school. She comes from a family of teachers. Her husband is also in education. We asked her about moving into her new job as principal of Oxford Middle School.
Although I don't like to admit it, I've been in education for a pretty long time. This is my 24th year, I believe, and I've been an administrator now for in middle school, for 19 years. So it is I would think, aspiration of most assistant principals to eventually get their own building and become a principal. I was not, traditional in the sense that I wasn't in a very big hurry to have a principalship because I so enjoyed my work as an assistant principal. And that means that I was working with students every day, rolling up my sleeves and helping families, and that's a job that I really enjoyed. Being a principal, it takes you a little bit away from the students, and so I wasn't ever one to put that as a career goal early on in my life. But as you go through your career, there are things and opportunities that come up that you kind of say, I'm ready for this now. This is a time in my life that I'm ready for a new challenge. And going to the middle school is just a great opportunity. And of course, staying in Oxford is a blessing.
And what made you think about being a teacher?
That started very early in my life. My parents were both teachers. They both taught high school. And so I knew early on from playing school and helping put copies together and being on the pool deck with my dad, he was a coach, and helping with parades and floats with my mom. I knew that I wanted to do something in education. And middle school teaching was not my first career goal. I thought I'd be a high school teacher, but my first job was a middle school educator, and I fell in love with it. I didn't dream that I would fall in love with middle schoolers, but I did. And so I spent a career in a lifetime, really, in middle school.
And then there's the matter of the International Baccalaureate. the middle year program moving into the next phase.
It is. Last year we were authorized, thanks to the hard work of our teachers and staff. But now the work begins. We thought that the hard work is behind us, but it's not. Every day is a new challenge as we work with the IB organization to work within their policies and create classes and grading systems and things that match their philosophies. So that's right. We are just starting the figuring out how to implement personal projects. So our MYP coordinator, Molly Darnell, is working hard with our teachers to create great experiences for our students.
Dacia Beasley, the new principal of Oxford Middle School. Much talk about the International Residence Academy this year. We got inside the program to learn more about the people involved, like Chun Chun Tang, one of the directors.
My experience in the United States started with my college years. I was an international student at Saginaw Valley State University, and that's my history with Michigan. And then I went to Philadelphia University of Pennsylvania for my master's. So my primary motivation for becoming an international student and wanting to study abroad in America was because American culture was always an appeal to me, and personally, English is. I have a fascination for the English language, and I want to learn the best out of it. So coming, to the United States was a natural, choice to achieve that goal. My story of coming to the United States and studying and now working here wouldn't be complete without what my family, the sacrifices they have made to make this experience possible. My parents, especially my mom, has always been very supportive of me to pursue my goals. And when I told her back in middle school, 8th grade, that I want to study abroad and the United States would be my destination, she came on board right away. So I think that is something that is rather unique for students my generation, that is for you to have a clear goal and also to have your family be supportive with what you want to do.
And then there was Jeff Zhang talking about living away from home.
But it's hard to say extend the range of the staying at America, because maybe 1 year before you're alone, you fly to America, your parents back to China. It's even now, sometimes when I played in the orchestra and they ask me well, my parents are coming here, my parents is coming for the performance, and I said, well, my parents is in China, they just can't come.
Yeah.
So, you may miss your parents more when you get younger, and now you get more mature, and you say, it's maybe not a big deal, and anyway, you got to leave your parents for college.
So was it tougher dealing with that or easier than you thought?
Hard to say. You mean get older in the program?
No, missing your parents.
You mean harder or easier?
Than you thought. Or being away from home, let's put it that way.
I think it's harder, because before I don't really think too much about it, but when I get here, a lot of time when I listen to the music I used to listen in China, or I listen even just a Chinese style of music, I will just miss my parents.
And as I look forward from my seat right here, what to my wondering eyes should appear but visions of Balsley's kids winning the mites and AAA Ford fast in their sights, the robotics team heading to Worlds for a win, and our OHS Special Ed Olympians gold medals again. We'll once again watch them giving a cheer, and you will be able to see it right here on Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.